Your resistance just broke. You didn't choose this video. What you're about to become pulled you here. And within the next few hours, you'll feel it. Tingling in your hands, warmth spreading through your chest, this sudden urge to cry for no logical reason. Those aren't symptoms. They're confirmation signals that the quantum change sequence has activated in your consciousness. Here's what you need to understand right now. If you leave before this ends, the sequence freezes for 6 months. Your quantum field locks into a repetition loop. Same patterns, same blocks, same unanswered questions cycling endlessly. The portal that opened the moment you clicked doesn't stay open forever. Every second you're here counts. I'm not a guru, and I'm not selling enlightenment. I'm someone who crossed the exact portal that's standing in front of you right now, and I know what you're feeling because I felt it too. This quantum change sequence, it's not a metaphor. It's the actual architecture of how consciousness reorganizes itself when it outgrows its current container. Scientists have discovered that our brains can operate on quantum principles, creating connections that shouldn't exist according to classical physics. Ancient traditions knew this too. Tibetan monks called it ego death. Shamans called it initiation. Quantum physicists call it wave function collapse. Same transformation, different language. But listen closely. This video won't teach you anything new. It's going to activate something you already know but forgot. Something that's been waiting in your awareness for this exact moment. And the sequence starts now. You know what's wild? Before your life actually shifts, before the quantum change fully lands in your reality, something strange starts happening. You begin catching these glimpses, like echoes bouncing back from a future that hasn't arrived yet. It's not déjà vu, though it feels similar. It's more like you're remembering something that's still on its way to you, and your consciousness is picking up the signal before your physical world can catch up. I'll never forget what happened to me about 3 months before everything transformed. I started having these incredibly vivid dreams, lucid ones where I was completely aware. And in them, I was living in a country I'd never visited, doing work that didn't even exist in my current reality yet. Every morning I'd wake up with this weird certainty, this knowing that felt more real than my actual life. And honestly, it freaked me out at first because part of me thought I was losing my grip on what's real. Here's the thing though. Think of it like a radio. You ever twist that dial and for a second you're between stations? You hear 2 frequencies at once overlapping, creating this strange harmony that shouldn't exist but does. That's exactly what's happening to you right now. You're tuned into the life you're living and the life that's forming in the quantum field, waiting to collapse into your awareness. Both are real. Both are broadcasting, and your consciousness, that beautiful, sensitive antenna, is picking up both signals. And listen, the signs are everywhere once you know what to look for. Maybe you feel this deep nostalgia for places you've never been, like you're homesick for a home that doesn't exist on any map yet. Or you meet someone brand new, and there's this instant recognition like, oh, it's you again, even though logically you've never seen their face before. Sometimes you just know things without having learned them. And when people ask, how'd you know that? You can't explain it because there's no logical sequence of events that taught you. What most people don't get, and this is crucial, is that these echoes aren't your imagination running wild or some fantasy you're cooking up to escape reality. This is your consciousness operating beyond linear time, perceiving possibilities that are still in superposition, still vibrating in that space where all potential futures exist simultaneously. The transformation hasn't fully anchored yet, but the wave is already moving toward you. And sensitive as you are, you're feeling the ripples before the tsunami hits. What's coming next might shake everything you think you know about how time actually works. There comes this moment, and it's unsettling as hell, where you look in the mirror and the person staring back feels like a stranger. Not in a scary way, more like disconnected. You recognize the face, sure, but the identity attached to it? That whole story of who you're supposed to be? It doesn't fit anymore. Like wearing clothes 2 sizes too small. And the weirdest part is that everyone around you still sees the old version, still expects that person to show up. But internally, that character is collapsing, dissolving, and you can't stop it even if you wanted to. I remember sitting in this important work meeting. Big project, everyone waiting for my input, expecting me to care the way I always cared. And suddenly, right there in the middle of someone's presentation, this awareness hit me like a wave. The person they're waiting to hear from doesn't exist anymore. I didn't feel angry or rebellious about it. I just didn't care in the way I was supposed to care. The identity that found meaning in that room, in that role, in that version of success, it had quietly died. And I was the last one to get the memo. Think about a snake shedding its skin, yeah? The snake doesn't wake up one morning feeling brave and decide, today's the day I become courageous and transform. Nah. The old skin gets tight, starts suffocating, literally can't contain what's growing underneath anymore. The snake sheds because staying in the old skin would kill it. That's what's happening to you right now. This isn't some existential crisis you need to fix or meditate away. This is a necessary death. The completion of a cycle, the end of an identity that served its purpose and now has to go. And I need you to hear this clearly. You're not losing your mind. You're not broken. You're not falling apart in a bad way. You're waking up, becoming lucid for the first time. And lucidity always looks like chaos when you're used to living in the dream. The personality you built, that whole sequence of behaviors, beliefs, and reactions, was designed for a version of reality you've outgrown. Your consciousness is expanding, and the old container is cracking because it can't hold this much awareness anymore. What makes this phase so disorienting is that the world keeps treating you like the old character still exists. Family, friends, co-workers, they're all reading from a script where you play a specific role, and when you deviate, when you can't fake it anymore, there's friction. But here's the truth they won't tell you, that friction isn't a sign you're going the wrong direction. It's proof you're finally heading towards something real, something that doesn't need performance or pretending. And what's about to come next? It'll test whether you're really ready to let that old identity die, or if you're still clinging to the ghost of who you used to be. All right, here's something they don't tell you about transformation. And honestly, it's probably the most misunderstood part of the whole quantum shift sequence. When you make a real internal change, when your consciousness actually shifts to a new frequency, the universe doesn't just smoothly adjust and roll out the red carpet for you. Nope. First, it does something that feels absolutely cruel. It intensifies the exact opposite of what you chose. It's like the universe is saying, "Oh, you think you've changed? Let me test that real quick." I'll give you a personal example that nearly broke me. The moment I decided to truly trust the flow, to surrender control and believe that everything would work out, literally the same week, 3 bills got delayed, my car broke down, and a client canceled a major project. And then, right when I committed to loving myself and setting boundaries, guess who came back into my life? That toxic person who'd caused me so much pain, suddenly offering everything I'd begged for years ago. Perfect timing, right? Except it wasn't sabotage. It was a test of my new frequency. Think of it like building muscle at the gym. When you lift weights, your muscles don't get stronger during the workout. That's actually when they're tearing, breaking down, getting weaker in the moment. The strength comes later, during recovery, when they rebuild stronger than before. Life operates on the same principle. When you shift internally, reality has to test whether you've genuinely transformed or if you just want to have transformed. There's a massive difference between the two, and the universe knows it. So here's what's really happening. This isn't self-sabotage. This isn't proof that manifestation doesn't work or that you're cursed. This is verification. The quantum field is checking your new vibration by presenting you with the old frequency and watching what you do. Do you collapse back into the old pattern? Do you grab that familiar comfort even though you know it's poison? Or do you hold your new state, stay in your new awareness, and let the test pass without breaking? And listen carefully. If your external life got messier right after you made a conscious internal decision, don't you dare go back. Don't interpret the chaos as a sign you made the wrong choice. You're in the testing phase, the gap between frequencies, the space where your old reality is dissolving and your new one hasn't fully materialized yet. This is the moment where most people panic and retreat, and that's exactly why most people never actually transform. But you're about to discover what happens when you refuse to flinch, when you hold steady, even when everything around you is screaming that you made a mistake. There's this specific moment in the transformation sequence that nobody really talks about, and it's not what you'd expect. It's not dramatic. There's no lightning bolt, no voice from the heavens. It's actually quiet, almost ordinary. You're doing something mundane, making coffee, folding laundry, driving, and suddenly, without warning, something inside you just knows. You know with absolute certainty. I can't go back. The old life is over. And it's not a decision you're making in that moment. It's a recognition of a decision that's already been made somewhere deeper than your conscious mind can reach. For me, it happened on a completely normal Tuesday night. I was standing at the sink washing dishes, no music playing, no deep thoughts running through my head, nothing special. And then this clarity just dropped in, calm as anything. It's done. The old version of your life is finished. And here's the strange part. I didn't cry, didn't panic, didn't feel this huge emotional release. I just knew. The way you know your own name. The sequence had reached a point where reversal wasn't possible anymore, and some part of my consciousness had been waiting for me to notice. It's like walking across a bridge and then turning around to see it's on fire behind you. Except you didn't light the match. The bridge was already burning the whole time you were crossing it. You just weren't looking back. That's what this point feels like. You think you still have the option to return to who you were, to slip back into the familiar patterns, the comfortable identities, the safe stories, but when you actually try, you realize there's nothing there anymore. The path behind you has dissolved and going forward is the only direction that exists now. And here's where it gets really intense. After you cross this point of no return, trying to force yourself back into the old behaviors causes actual physical discomfort. I'm not being metaphorical here. Your body rejects it. You try to pretend you're fine with situations that used to be normal, and suddenly you've got nausea, exhaustion, headaches that won't quit. Your nervous system is literally rejecting the old frequency because your consciousness has already upgraded, and there's no downgrading once the transformation sequence activates at this level. So if you're sitting here watching this, and everything I'm saying is hitting way too close to home, if you feel this uncomfortable recognition spreading through your chest, yeah, you've already passed the point. That's why you're so uncomfortable right now. That's why nothing feels right anymore. Why you can't just get over it and go back to normal. There is no normal to go back to. The bridge is ash, and the only way out is through. And what I'm about to show you next is how to navigate this space without losing yourself completely, because there's still one more layer of surrender you haven't touched yet. Okay, so here's something that's happening right now that goes way beyond the words you're hearing. While you're watching this, while you're processing the information on a conscious level, there's another transmission happening. A frequency operating below the language, beneath the concepts, in that space where consciousness touches consciousness directly. You might have felt it already, this subtle shift in the atmosphere of your awareness, like something's being transferred that has nothing to do with what I'm actually saying. Try this with me real quick. Seriously, do it. Pause the video for a second, close your eyes, and feel into the space behind your thoughts. Not the thoughts themselves, but the awareness that's watching the thoughts happen. That thing observing your mind right now. That's not another thought. That's not your personality or your memories or your fears. That's the real you, the consciousness that's been here the whole time, untouched by anything that's ever happened to you. And once you recognize it, everything changes. I'll never forget the first time I truly felt this presence, not understood it intellectually, but felt it directly. I was driving on the highway, nothing particularly profound happening, just normal traffic. And suddenly this recognition hit me so hard, I had to pull over because I couldn't focus on the road anymore. I realized, I am not my anxiety. I'm not my past traumas. I'm not even my aspirations or my identity. I'm this awareness that's been observing all of it, completely untouched, like a silent witness that never leaves. The transformation in that moment wasn't loud. It was the quietest, most obvious thing I'd ever experienced. Think of it like this. Your whole life, you thought you were the character in the movie. The one struggling, suffering, celebrating, fighting. But you just realized you're actually the screen where the movie plays. The screen never gets hurt when there's violence in the film. The screen doesn't die when the character dies. The screen doesn't change at all, it just witnesses, holds space, allows everything to appear and disappear. That's what you are. That's what's been here all along, and this quantum sequence you're going through, it's just the process of remembering what you've always been. And here's the beautiful part. Once you touch this awareness, once you recognize yourself as the witness instead of the story, you can't fully forget it again. Sure, you'll get lost in the drama, you'll identify with the character again, you'll forget for hours or days. But there's a part of you now that knows the truth, and that part will keep pulling you back, keep reminding you, keep activating this deeper consciousness until it becomes your default state instead of a rare glimpse. What comes next is going to show you the exact sequence this remembering follows, and trust me, you're closer to the final stage than you think. Alright, so the transformation sequence doesn't happen all at once. It moves through 3 inevitable stages, 3 portals that every single person who goes through this quantum shift has to pass through. You can't skip them, you can't go around them, and honestly, trying to avoid them just makes them last longer. Each portal asks you to surrender something you've been holding on to like your life depends on it. And the funny thing is, your old life actually does depend on it. That's why letting go feels like dying. The first portal is the rendition of control. This is where you try so hard to plan everything, to organize your way into safety, to guarantee outcomes. You make lists, you set up contingency plans, you try to force reality into the shape you think it needs to be. And then, boom, everything falls apart anyway. Projects collapse, relationships end, plans dissolve like sugar in water. And you keep trying to rebuild, keep trying to control until finally you're so exhausted that you just stop. You let the chaos do its thing. And weirdly, that's when things start reorganizing themselves in ways you never could have planned. The second portal hits different. This is the rendition of identity. You try desperately to hold on to who you were, to maintain the version of yourself that feels safe and familiar. You tell yourself, I can change my circumstances without changing who I am. But life starts stripping away all your reference points. The job that defined you, the relationship that gave you purpose, the role that made you feel valuable. And you panic, you grieve, you try to grab onto anything that proves you're still you. Until finally you realize, the person you were trying to protect doesn't actually exist anymore. And maybe never did. The third portal is the quietest but somehow the deepest. The rendition of the need to understand. This is where you stop trying to make sense of everything. You've been analyzing, researching, trying to figure out why this is happening, what it means, how to navigate it perfectly. But the mystery just keeps getting bigger, the paradoxes multiply, and eventually you hit this point where you just accept not knowing. You stop needing the story to make sense, stop needing to understand the mechanics of your own transformation. You just trust the sequence itself. I went through all 3, and I'm going to be real with you. It hurt like hell. I lost my job, which destroyed my sense of control and financial security. Then my relationship of 5 years ended, taking my entire identity as a partner with it. And then I moved to a completely new city with no plan, no safety net, no logical reason except this inner knowing that I had to go. Each portal felt like a death, and in a way it was. But on the other side of all that surrender, I found a freedom I'd been praying for my whole life without even knowing what I was asking for. So if you're standing in front of one of these portals right now, if you recognize yourself in any of these stages, don't fight it. The resistance only makes the crossing longer and more painful. And once you pass through all 3, well, that's when the real quantum change activates, and you'll finally understand why this entire sequence had to happen exactly the way it did. Remember when I said your resistance just broke? Now you know why. This wasn't information, it was activation. The transformation isn't something that's going to happen. It's happening right now, while you're sitting here. Your quantum field already shifted. You're not the same consciousness that clicked this video. Here's what you need to know about the next 72 hours. People are going to react differently to you, even if you don't say a word. Old situations will try to pull you back. Hard. Your body might need more sleep than usual. Let it. This is integration, not laziness. And the synchronicities? They're about to get wild. Repeating numbers, the right message at the perfect moment, people appearing out of nowhere with exactly what you need. That's not coincidence. That's your new frequency operating in real time. So here's the truth, plain and simple. You didn't stumble on this video. You invoked it. Your consciousness called this sequence into your reality because you're ready, whether you feel ready or not. And now that it's activated, there's no going back. There's only moving through. If something here resonated, and if you made it this far, it definitely did, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and drop a like. Not for me, because your field is telling you that you need to keep receiving these transmissions. The sequence doesn't end here. Next, watch How to Break the Observer Loop. It goes deeper into dissolving the identity that's still trying to hold on. The sequence is complete. Now it's on you. Don't resist. Just observe what comes next.